One of Warframe's strong points is its fantastic weapon diversity. Honestly, there's a little bit of something here for everybody. But how can a weapon stand out from the pack? Well, you have your huge damage dealers, weapons that stand out because of the fantastic numbers on the screen. There are weapons that stand out because of their quirks, because of their gimmicks, special features. And there are weapons that stand out because of usability. These are the weapons that are comfortable to be used from mission to mission. These are your trusty companions. And today, my friends, we have one such weapon in the form of the Baza Prime. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're gonna be diving deeper into this primary weapon. As per usual, I'm gonna have a new player-friendly setup, something affordable that newer Tenno or more casual Tenno can look forward to. But fear not, we also got the Endgame setup with the Prime mods, Galvanized mods, a Riven. We're gonna take it the Steel Path, basically the works. That said though, please bear in mind that my builds and guides usually take a more new player-friendly tone, simply because I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So in case you're a vet and you already know most of this stuff, you can either skip ahead or have a bit of patience. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Baza Prime. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped. And for that, just a couple of our usual free shots. The Baza is an automatic primary hit scan weapon. You can call it a rifle, you can call it a submachine gun, you can call it whatever you want, but it does have fantastic usability. For example, the accuracy at 50 meters, take a look at that. Pinpoint accurate for, well, the most part, with a super steady attack. Basically, the weapon has no recoil. Take a look at this. The ever so slight LG clip, but that's pretty much it. Did you notice something else as well? 60 magazine capacity with a lightning quick reload. 1.1 seconds, and then you continue firing at a super solid fire rate. Honestly, when it comes to usability, there's not a whole lot you can complain about the Baza Prime. But let's have a look at stats to see exactly what we're dealing with. Mod capacity 60 out of 60, and if your comes with only 30 out of 30 jump actions, plug in that auto king catalyst and double that mod capacity. Is it worth it on the Baza Prime? Well, if you want one of the most powerful primary weapons in Warframe, no, not necessarily, but if you're more about the experience and the usability, the fluidity of the weapon, 100%, go for the Baza Prime. There's really not anything that feels quite like the Baza in Warframe. Now when it comes to format, mine has been format 7 times, but don't let this scare you off. Honestly, I do a whole lot of testing and build diversity and etc. blah blah. All you need is free maximum 4 format for the Baza Prime. And of course, you should definitely unlock the arcane slot. When it comes to this one, well, my friends, it's gonna be a munitions thing. Yeah, and if it's a munitions thing, you gotta go for primary merciless because your targets are gonna be dying under the effects of procs, most likely slash procs. Then again, if you are going to be using it in tandem with your melee, go with primary dexterity. If you opt for a raw strength approach, okay, you want to build corrosive and you just want to go for raw damage, primary deadhead, but I would not recommend a build such as that on the Baza. You'll see why a tad later. As for the weapon excellence slot, should you unlock this one? Nah, not necessarily. Honestly, stabilizer is mostly pointless on the Baza. It's already steady as a rock. Does this one even have an effect? Yeah, it does. Believe it or not, you can feel the effect of stabilizer. It's not a horrible option on it if you prefer your weapon to not move almost at all. Again, it's a preference thing, but honestly, a smarter choice will be to go with Vigilante supplies. You get that 5% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. I know it says 20. It's not unless you have 4 mods on. It's a simulacrum bug. It's just a visual thing. It doesn't really apply. So do bear that one in mind. Let me see that. Accuracy 80, which is pretty good. The weapon can take heavy caliber, but honestly, there are plenty of other more powerful mods in Warframe, so you don't need to worry about heavy caliber anymore. Honestly, this needs a buff if you still want us to use it, DoD. Of course, fall off between 30 and 60. Now, honestly, do you really need more than this? Fall off starts at 30 meters. 30 meters is huge in Warframe. I mean, that was 15 earlier, and this is 27. 30 meters. That's it. I don't think you need any more fall off than that, but if you want to, there you go. When it comes to critical chance and critical damage, basically that's the bread and butter of the Baza. You got 28% critical chance, which is very good, and a super high critical multiplier at 3.0x, which is absolutely fantastic. Fire rate is solid at 1667, magazine of 60, and it's silent. It is a silent weapon, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you noticed, but it doesn't fire bullets. It fires these needles of sorts. It's a fantastic pairing for Ivara. Riven disposition 3 out of 5, which means we can get worthwhile Rivens for this one, so 100% is definitely worth going for a Baza Riven. And you know what, currently, they're not even all that expensive. You can get an unrolled one, head on over to Kuva and try your luck. Trigger automatic. And the status chance is only 14%. Okay, look, status chance isn't really all that high, but it's going to be more than enough for us to apply a couple of vitals, which is essentially all we need. As for the IPS layout, I'll have a look. The biggest is Puncture, which is not bad because it deals extra damage versus heavily armored target, but the proc isn't fantastic. Impact is there to piss you off, and there's a little bit of slash too. It's not really going to be much of an issue since most of our slashes are going to be coming from Hunter munitions. And speaking about Hunter munitions, this will be your standard setup for the Baza Prime, something a more casual Tenno or a newer Tenno should look forward to. Treat this one as a jumping off point to the weapon, something that you can build on, and will showcase a endgame setup just a tad later. You got your damage acceleration, multi-shot with split chamber, critical chance and critical damage with point strike and vital sense. Now let's take a moment to consider other critical chance mods, because I know what you guys are gonna say. Dude, critical delay all day, haha. Now these two cannot be stacked together for obvious reasons, and this one gives you 200% crit chance instead of 150, but it takes 20% fire rate away. Now what are you getting for your extra crit chance? Only 14% more. But instead you are losing 3.3 free fire rate. In the case of the Baza Prime, considering the fire rate, the reload, the everything, I would go with point strike over critical delay. Now don't get me wrong, this is a fantastic mod that you are going to be using on a whole lot of primary builds, my friends. Definitely get this one. It's a corrupted mod. It gives you a big buff, but also takes away a little bit of something as well. Just like most women. And that's not important. What is important? How do you farm corrupted mods like this one? Like Heavy Caliber, like Fleeting Expertise. So many mods that you do need. You don't know how to farm them? Pa, I got your back. Link the cards right now for a full and detailed guide on how to farm corrupted mods. Next, 260-60 mods forming vital damage, because of course we're going to be doing the vital Mumu setup. Hunter munitions has to be here. Malignant Force you can get from Corrupted War in the Void, and Rhyme Rounds is obtained by doing spy missions. Nothing too fancy, nothing too hard, none of these mods are expensive, neither is Vigilante Supplies. Now, I left one mod slot open because that's your option slot. Let me suggest a couple of potential options for you. More multi-shot, never bad, never bad. Go with Vigilante Armaments and 60% additional multi-shot. Plus you get the 5% chance to enhance critical hits from primary weapons. Granted, you can get that benefit also from your Sentinel's weapon. More on that just a tad later. Not a bad idea, but it is important to have your critical chance guaranteed. If that's that, honestly, when it comes to gameplay, that's a really, really important aspect. So you can go with Argon Scope. Now, I used to hesitate to recommend this one because it was very hard to obtain and it was expensive from the trade chat. But nowadays, you go to Deimos, you do a couple of bounties, you pray to God or just pray, and you get this one. Or if not, just trade for it. I think it's like something like 10, 15 plat. I don't remember. Hammer Shot is not a horrible option, and considering the critical chance and critical multiplier, Bladed Rounds is again a decent option as well. But let's use something super new player friendly and go with Multi-Shot. Now let me show you what the Baza Prime can do on level 120 Corrupted Heavy Goons. You guessed it. That is the ever so lovely benchmark. Honestly, these are way higher than something like Sortie Free, but they're way lower than something like Endurance Runs in Steel Path or anything of the sort. Now, my friends, you want to go for a headshot, you get what I'm saying? Honestly, what stands out about this weapon is not necessarily the damage it deals, but the usability and just how it flows and handles from mission to mission. I mean, take a look. There's 13 slashes, 9 vitals on that target, more than enough to absolutely annihilate whatever the hell stands before you, with great ease, I might add. Now granted, you do reload a whole lot, but it's 1.1 seconds, done. And you keep on shooting. Honestly, this has the kind of usability a pro FPS player would need, right? When he's taking out noob after noob after noob, but this is not a competitive competitive game. However, having a weapon that handles like this is definitely 100% satisfying. And you know what? For most of the content that Warframe can throw at you, there's really not much more you need than the Baza Prime. Now, let's say you're not a new player and you already got all the fancy mods, the Prime mods, the Galvanized mods. You're looking at something like this with Galvanized Chamber instead of the normal version, Galvanized Aptitude instead of Serration, because honestly, you got plenty of flat damage, from Galvanized Aptitude and Primary Merciless. And we also have a Riven, throw a Riven in there, why the hell not? We got Multi-Shot, Critical Chance and Electricity. It's not an ideal Riven, definitely not. I would look for something like Multi-Shot, Critical Chance, Critical Damage, not a bad idea. Work in an element, but not necessarily Electricity. For example, if I had one of the two viral elements, I could free up a mod space in the weapon and add something more like, hey, why not a Bane mod? Now here's the thing, my friends. When it comes to building your weapons in Warframe, overall smart idea is try to balance out your multipliers, okay? Have a little bit of everything, essentially. There's no diminishing returns in Warframe in the sense that there's no built-in mechanic necessarily for diminishing returns. Math has diminishing returns in the sense that the more you add of a single multiplier, the less you get from it, which is why faction mods are a good idea sometimes. Yes, I know, I hate faction mods, but they are a separate multiplier, which is why Prime Bane of the something or Prime Faction mod of the whatever is definitely a good idea when it comes to super high level content. I'm talking about level 150 and over. So for example, on a build such as this, you can make room for Prime Bane of the Corrupted instead of the Riven, instead of Galvanized Aptitude. There you go, that's definitely an option, but for now we're gonna test like so against the Corrupted Heavy Goons level 120. And of course we also got the Arcane as well. Now of course, being a Galvanized setup, we are gonna have to get a couple of kills until the build will be in full swing. But take a look at all the procs, man. 10 impacts, 31 slashes, I don't know how many vitals. A lot of vitals. You even got the electricity in there, and of course the vital is helping the Wow, it just blew up. Fantastic, man. All you need is a couple of bullets after you get a couple of stacks on the target. Take a look. Absolutely bloody fantastic. Level 120 completely annihilated by a build such as this one. Now, shooting targets in the simulacrum, you might say, hey dude, it's all well and good, but how does it handle in an actual mission? Well, let's take it to Steel Path. Say hello to the Corrupted, my friends. Now, these will be level 100 and, I don't know, 30-ish Corrupted in the Void. Steel Path mode, of course. And you will see that the Baza Prime can absolutely shred through these targets with no problem whatsoever. Now we're gonna look for something a bit more beefy that can take a couple of hits, something like a Corrupted Heavy Goon. But let's go a little bit forward. Oh, and by the way, here's a tip. You can use the Panzerwurfpfeiler, which will be applying battle procs to your target. Now if that oh, there's the Goon! And there he goes. Or she goes, better said. If you got a Panzerwurfpfeiler, you don't need to build vital on your weapon anymore. You can build, I don't know, corrosive and heat, something of the sort. But when it comes to the weapon's performance and usability, as you can see, well, there's really no issue whatsoever. It basically takes thing without much issue, and it's not gonna have much of an issue except up until, let's say, level 500-ish. When you get to level 500-ish, ooh, another Corrupted Heavy Goon, you might have a slight issue here and there. Now, there's one more thing which I do want to show you. Warframe buffs, and for that we're going to be using the ever so lovely Lady Mirage Prime. She's the most powerful weapon buffer frame in the game, and you know what? Right now she's unvaulted, so if you guys want to farm her, this would be the time. When it comes to the actual buffs per se, well, a corrosive projection against heavily armored targets is definitely the way to go. Please don't feel forced into this one. If your build calls for whatever else aura, I don't know, sprint boost so you can sprint that boost, shield disruption, rejuvenation, or whatever the hell else, simply go for the aura of your choosing. If the aura is that important to you, don't forget about Coaction Drift, however. And if you don't understand what this one does because it's a little bit funky, I mean aura strength and aura effectiveness. What? There's a timetable, actually there's a full table over on the wiki that explains exactly what kind of benefit you're looking from using this one depending on the aura. Now Arcanes, these are a whole lot more impactful. You can go with something like Avenger, 45% critical chance for 12 seconds, bonus additive after, simply stacking on top of what you already have. Not a bad option. Normally I go with one arcane for the weapon I'm using and one arcane for the warframe, something like my energize or armor or whatever else. But for a second arcane, for more flat damage, you can go with something like arcane rage. More fire rate in this case, I don't think is really necessary, so you can go with arcane rage and a whole chunk of flat damage, especially if you're not using serration on the weapon anymore and you already have something like a faction mod. 180% damage to primary weapons for 24 seconds on a headshot, 15% chance. So if you are the type of player that goes more for body shots, maybe this is not exactly the best idea for you. When it comes to companions, one or two options when it comes to buffs. You can either use a sentinel. Any sentinel will do, my friends. Something like carrier. Make sure that on that sentinel's weapon you have the vigilante mod that we talked about earlier. offense, armaments, fervor, and supplies that 20% chance to enhance critical hits. Another option is to not mod your weapon, like I said for Vilo, mod it for something like corrosive and heat, and you can use the Panzerwolperpfeiler instead, which will be getting yourself those yummy Vilo procs. Now, one more time, we're gonna be spawning as high as I can, level 165. We're gonna be unpausing the AI so they can hit me, and I can get my glorious, absolutely glorious buffs. Activate Mirage's 4 ability, which in my case is Empower, then her free ability for an absolutely outstanding Eclipse buff, and one more time for the best all-time animation in Warframe. Quiet please. Beautiful, absolutely fantastic. Now, of course, my friends, the weapon was absolutely destroying before. It's gonna be even better now. I mean, all I need is a couple of bullets. Let's try one bullet in this guy. That wasn't one bullet. That was more than one bullet, and basically getting killed by the electricity proc. This is the kind of power you're looking at when you're dealing with Warframe buffs, when you know exactly how to build for the encounter and what exactly to prioritize. As you can see, I absolutely melted level 165 corrupted heavy goons with just a couple of bullets. Or in this case, little needles? I think it's little needles. It's a lot more clear on the normal version of the Baza than on the Prime, what kind of projectile this one uses, although it is a hit scan weapon. And I do believe, my friends, that is pretty much it. As a conclusion for the Baza Prime, while it may not be the most super endgame weapon of all primary weapons in the game, it's definitely one that stands out when it comes to feel and usability. And if that's your cup of tea, you can't go wrong with the Baza Prime. As always, my name has been Leyzar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you got any sorts of feedback for me, I would love to read that in the comment section down below. Oh, also in the comment section down below, if you guys want to suggest any particular type of content. Like, for example, I would like to see this or that, and all whatnot. You can also find me on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, all the usual places. And if you love the content, hey, consider supporting us via Patreon. Link in the cards right now. But until next time, my friends. Bye-bye.